people who enter homes for a living, maintenance, cable contractors, etc. What's the strangest thing you've encountered when entering someone's home? Worked as an on-call computer tech for about a year, and I've seen some weird plenty of hoarders, elderly men with interesting sexual fantasies, etc. The weirdest one was this cool old dude who had retired and lived in a double wide trailer in a fairly nice retirement trailer park. His house had one of those trains that traveled along the walls from room to room, occasionally poking through walls and such. The primary purpose of this train was to carry his bird around the house. From his explanation, the bird had some birth defects and had difficulty flying, so they built the train for the bird to cruise around the house on. This may not sound all that weird to you, but let me set the stage for you. You're a college student removing a stupid browser hijack from some old guy's computer. You're nearly done with the job when you hear a clacking sound and look up to see a toy train crossing your vision. Aboard the train is a decently sized bird that makes eye contact with you and says choo choo motherfucker before disappearing into the next room. One of the most surreal moments of my life. Cleaning crew. We arrive at the house. The owners are gone. We get to cleaning. We notice they have a lot of seagull memorabilia around the house. We are then told that the owners have a pet seagull. Every day at 3 PM, they come home and feed a single seagull a hot dog they cook just for it. And apparently they've been doing this for years. So sure enough, we looked for the seagull, but couldn't find one. 3 PM comes around, and the owners come home. Right as we are leaving, one lone seagull swoops down, perched on their porch, and they started cooking its hot dog. That was interesting to say the least. I'm a code enforcement officer for my city, and recently I responded to a complaint about a house that had dead rats all over the outside, and according to the complaint, it was so bad, you could see rats crawling in the yard and through the windows. We get a lot of people complaining about rats, and rarely is it an actual rat problem. Usually, it's just mice. I had already issued orders on this house for something else, and had been in contact with the owner. When I went to speak with her previously, I was nearly knocked off the porch by the smell on her, but I couldn't see anything inside the house, and I can't write a violation notice on a person's hygiene. Well, I went back to investigate to claim of dead rats outside in the yard, and sure enough, there are at least 4 of them just in the front yard. Based on this, the smell, and complaints from the neighbors and even a police officer, I probably could have obtained a search warrant, but I decided to contact the owner and see if she would let me in. I had asked once, and she said no, but it was worth a shot. When I called her, she said that she was having a problem with her roommate and wasn't spending much time there anymore. She asked if I could do anything to help get him out of the house. I told her that I couldn't help her evict anyone, but if the sanitary conditions inside were as bad as I suspected, my inspection might result in him being vacated. I asked what the inside of the house was like, and she said that the floors in the kitchen were just bad and needed to be replaced. But still she agreed to let me in. A few days later, I showed up with my supervisor and a city police officer. Her roommate had a violent criminal record. We go inside, partially at the roommate's request, because he had the nerve to call in a complaint on her and find a house that I now call the Jumanji house because it looks like we interrupted a game. The rat infestation was so bad, I observed multiple of them running around. One even brushed past my boot. Anyone who knows about vermin and pests can attest to the fact that an infestation has to be very bad to even see one in the daytime. The carpets and floor were covered in rat droppings and dog shit. The floor in the kitchen was indeed bad, so bad that they had to move the fridge into the living room to stop it from sinking into the basement. At one point, the roommate was showing us around, and as he entered one of the bedrooms, he stopped short and looked at us and said, "Oh, this looks bad." My supervisor and I just looked at each other, wondering what the hell could be in there that was any worse than the rest of the house. Perhaps a portal to hell. It was just a freshly killed rat on a dresser that he hadn't yet tossed out the window. Yeah, we vacated them immediately. I was moving ceiling tiles in order to run a new line, and Rex swing fell out. It was bolted into the 8x8 main support. Needless to say, the line I was running took a slight detour. Cannot confirm the accuracy of this story. My brother-in-law interned with the law enforcement agency, got close with his supervisors. One of the supervisors told him a story about a time he was a patrol officer in Georgia. They were doing some investigation into a crime, something not super major, like auto theft or something. They knock on this guy's door to ask him a couple questions. A young woman answers and says the man isn't home and that she rents out a room from him. They ask her a few questions. What's this guy like? Any odd behaviors or schedule? She says, yeah, I'm actually trying to move out of this place. This guy is super weird. She cracks the door open so the officers can see inside. In the living room there is a crock pot full of dildos. She tells them there is a similar crock pot in every room of the house. I went into a house one time where we were installing security bars in the basement in Detroit. The bars basically blocked off a corner of the basement like a cage. Went into the basement and there was a refined lion chained up down there. Turns out the guy was a drug dealer and used the lion for protection. My boss thought it would be funny to not tell us about it beforehand. I used to do estimates for a solar energy company. One house I went to in Pennsylvania was an old 1800s farmhouse. People who lived there seemed normal other than a bunch of clutter all around. That quickly changed. Asked to see their breaker panel in the basement and was led down a winding skinny staircase to a dirt floor basement with no ventilation, doors, windows, and no less than 100 plus rabbits in cages, floor to ceiling, entire perimeter of the basement. Not. Felt like I was breathing through a straw because of the ammonia from the rabbit piss and that was covering the floor. Asked if they breed and sell rabbits or something, and he answers kinda. I'm positive that was their main food source for the family and rabbit was on the menu every night of the week. Why do people hang erotic pictures of themselves on their bedroom walls? Also opening a drawer to find an 80-plus-year-old lady's axial lingerie collection while she was standing there smiling. I'm a bedroom furniture fitter. I've seen plenty of weird artwork or cringe-inducing family photos, but the strangest was when I worked for a small carpet cleaning company. We got a call from a guy who wanted us to take a look at his basement to see if we could help him with some stains. I could smell the mold before I even got close to the stairs leading down to the basement. I walked down there to find out that the stains are actually several fungi that have grown completely through the underpad and carpet. Mold spots were very visible in most of the drywall too. Apparently though we were going to be able to clean out 3 months of water damage and fungi growth with a steamer. Fungi grown through carpet. I've done residential maintenance in the past. Seen some effed up here and there. A few exhibitionists, plenty of filthy/stinky tenants, some people's plumbing backed up, and it looked like their bathtub was filled with refried beans. The thing that sticks out the most was this small studio apartment on the 3rd floor of this building. The smell. Oh my effing god, that smell. I can't even describe it other than it made me never want to smell anything again, as long as I lived. In the kitchenette there was some brown substance running down all of the cabinets. The dirty dishes looked like they'd been sitting there for centuries. The bathroom appeared as though someone had explosive diarrhea and just stood in the doorway facing the toilet and let go a effing shotgun blast out of their asshole. That resulted in what the great philosopher Michael Jackson would call the doofenses thrown all over the walls. Next to the bed there were some gnarly fingernail clippings next to a jumbo tub of Vaseline and a men's fitness magazine. I'm not a small man. I had my 300-pound ass doing all the running from the 3rd floor down the truck to get tools/materials that we needed to get the F out of that sliver of hell on earth as soon as possible without having to spend much time inside of there. It was by far the most disgusting place I'd ever been in. We reported it to the property manager and the person was evicted. I can only imagine he was severely mentally ill. I'm not the one entering homes, but we recently underwent renovations at my family home. When I was 18, my parents commissioned a painting for me that was meant to showcase my love for a certain video game series. It's tradition to get a portrait done when we hit 18 in my family. The painting turned horrifically, a very realistic version of my face plastered on an anime style body next to the main character of the series, who was also in an anime style. It was based off of key art from the series. Worst of all, this painting is like 1.5 meters tall and hanging on the wall that is immediately facing the door. I can't take it down, lest I offend my parents, as they don't think it looks that bad. I'm pretty sure I scarred the guy for life. That, or he thinks I'm obsessed / in love with a cartoon. I deliver pizza. The creepiest thing I ever saw was a corridor in a house, lined with pictures / painting of crying children. Just, why? Another customer had a almost naked life-sized World of Warcraft character right behind the door. I jumped the first few times I went to his place. When I was in high school, I did some housework for hire. The oddest house I ever went to was a guy who had around 40 chainsaws stuck into his front yard and a room full of taxidermied cats. Worked for another guy who had a Tom Cruise room full of cardboard cutouts. I caught him dancing with one once, while wearing tie-dye board shorts and Crocs.